You checked your phone. You answered a few messages. You organized your tasks. You watched something that was supposed to teach you something useful. Maybe you even made a plan for tomorrow. And at the end of the day, you felt exhausted. So you told yourself, at least I got a lot done. But what if you didn't? What if your brain has learned how to give you the feeling of progress without requiring you to actually make progress? This is one of the most dangerous productivity traps because it doesn't look like procrastination. It looks productive. And that's exactly why it's so difficult to recognize. Think about the last time you had something important to do. Maybe it was studying. Maybe it was building something. Maybe it was applying for an opportunity. Maybe it was working on a goal you've been talking about for months. You knew exactly what needed to happen, but instead of starting, you did something else. You cleaned your workspace. You checked your notifications. You reorganized your schedule. You researched something you didn't actually need to research yet. You watched another video about how to become more disciplined. And strangely, you felt better afterward. That's the trap. Your brain doesn't always care whether an action moves you closer to your goal. It cares about the immediate feeling that comes from doing something. Checking a notification gives you stimulation. Crossing a tiny task off a list gives you a sense of completion. Organizing your plans gives you a sense of control. Watching motivational content gives you a temporary feeling that change has already begun. None of these things are automatically bad. The problem begins when they become substitutes for the difficult action. Because difficult action has something easy activity doesn't have: uncertainty. When you actually start the important task, you have to face the possibility that you might fail. You might discover that you're not as good as you expected. You might have to concentrate longer than you want to. You might not see results immediately. And your brain doesn't particularly enjoy that. So it offers you an escape. Not an obvious escape, a productive-looking escape. That's why someone can spend 3 hours working and still avoid the one task that mattered most. They weren't doing nothing. They were doing everything except the thing that could actually change the result. And there's another problem. The more often you reward yourself for avoiding difficult work with easy activity, the easier that pattern becomes. You start training yourself to choose immediate comfort over delayed results. Eventually, you don't even need to make a conscious decision. You reach for the easy thing automatically. You don't say, I'm going to procrastinate. You simply check one notification, then another. You open one video, then another. You tell yourself you'll start in 5 minutes, and suddenly an hour is gone. But here's where most productivity advice gets this wrong. The answer isn't to become busy all day. The answer is to become brutally clear about what actually matters. Because productivity isn't measured by how many things you touched. It's measured by what changed because you acted. Imagine 2 people. The first person spends 6 hours answering messages, organizing files, making lists, watching educational videos, and constantly staying busy. The second person spends 2 focused hours completing the one task that creates an actual result. Who is more productive? The answer is obvious, but our brains often prefer the first person. Why? Because visible activity feels safer. Real progress can be uncomfortable. You can spend an entire afternoon planning to start, but planning isn't the same as starting. You can consume hundreds of hours of information about success, but information isn't the same as execution. You can build the perfect schedule, but a schedule doesn't change your life until you follow it. This is why one question can completely change the way you work. Before you start another task, ask yourself, does this actually move me closer to the result I want? Not, does this feel productive? Not, does this make me feel organized? Not, am I busy? Ask, does this move me forward? That question forces you to separate activity from progress. And once you start doing that, you'll notice something uncomfortable. Some of the things you call productivity are actually avoidance. But that's good news, because once you can see the pattern, you can change it. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need another productivity system. You don't need another motivational video. You need to identify the task you're avoiding and begin. Start badly if you have to. Start for 10 minutes. Start before you feel ready, because action creates evidence. Every time you complete something difficult, you're teaching yourself that discomfort doesn't control you. And that lesson is far more valuable than another temporary burst of motivation. The goal isn't to eliminate easy tasks. The goal is to stop using easy tasks to hide from important ones. So tomorrow, when you feel busy, stop for a moment. Look at everything you're doing. Then ask yourself one question. Am I actually moving forward? Or am I just enjoying the feeling of being productive? Because there is a huge difference between the two. One gives you relief for a few minutes. The other changes where your life is going. And your future won't be determined by how busy you look today. It will be determined by what you actually move forward.